Database management system, questions and answers. What is a database? Database is a collection of information that is organized, or set of interrelated data is also a database. For what? So that it can be easily accessed, managed and updated. So if they are organized properly, they can be easily accessed, managed and updated. What is DBMS? DBMS stands for Database Management System. This is the acronym for Database Management System. And this is a collection of programs that enable user to create and maintain a database. So you have a database, you need to have some programs to work on this database, and those programs, a set of programs, are database management system. What is database system? Now, database and DBMS software together, you combine this and this, you add them. The database and DBMS software together, they are together called as a database system. So what are the advantages of DBMS? First of all, redundancy is controlled. I don't say it is eliminated, but it is controlled. It provides multiple user interfaces. It provides backup and recovery, the most important point. Also, security means unauthorized access is restricted. And integrity constraints means if your amount or if your bank account has only leverage of 1,000 rupees, means you cannot go beyond that, then this is an integrity constraint that can be placed by DBMS. What is normalization? Normalization, this is a process of analyzing of a given relational schema based on their functional dependencies and primary key to achieve the properties like minimizing redundancy, minimizing insertion, deletion, and updating of anomalies, those anomalies which just occur. You can also say that normalization is the set of activities which are applied for the database to be in consistent and non-redundant state. What is data model? Now, the collection of conceptual tools for describing this data relationships, data semantics, and the constraints, these are your data model. What is ER model or entity relationship model? This is the data model which is based on real world that consists of basic objects, which are called entities, and the relationship among these objects. So these objects are like the entities which can be regarded as an independent value or scenario in the world, and they cannot be further subdivided like this. And the relationship among these objects. So entities are described in a database by certain set of attributes. Like a human being, I can be regarded as an entity, and I have certain attributes. Like I'm a man. I have two legs, two hands, like this. What is object-oriented model? Now, because object is involved in here, so the model which is based on the collection of objects, these are object-oriented models. So an object contains values stored in instance variables within the object. So an object also contains the bodies of the code that operate on the objects, just like the class as you have seen. And these bodies of codes are called methods, because class has methods and attributes also. So objects that contain same types of values and the same methods are grouped together into these classes in object-oriented model. What is an entity? An entity is a thing or object of importance about which data must be captured, right? And it has to be, you can really depict it in a real world. What is data definition language? DDL. The database schema is specified by a set of definition expressed by a special language called DDL. So you define a database through DDL. You manipulate. How to manipulate? Because you have defined now. This is done by DML. So what is DML? Data manipulation language. Language which enable user to access or manipulate data as organized by appropriate data level, like procedural DML or low level. You have also non-procedural DML or high level. So procedural or low level, this DML requires a user to specify what data are needed and how to get this data. But in high level procedural DML or non-procedural DML, DML requires the user to specify what data are needed without specifying how to retrieve or get this data. What is DML compiler? It translates your DML statement in a query language into low-level standard that the query evaluation engine can understand. Like in MySQL, you have InnoDB, INNODB, MyISM. So these are two various engines which interprets. What is query evaluation engine? It executes low-level instruction generated by the compiler. What is functional dependency? This is a very important question. Functional dependency is the starting point of normalization. Functional dependency exists when a relation between two attributes allow you to uniquely determine the corresponding attribute value. So if you have a table and you have these names, okay, and this is age, you cannot uniquely define age from the name. But if you have some social security number, or if you are from India, then you have Aadhaar card, Aadhaar number, then you can uniquely identify the name and age of the person. So this is the functional dependency of this name and age on which Aadhaar card or social security number. What is 1NF normal form? The first number form, or 1NF, is the first and the simplest type of normalization that can be implemented on our database. We want really our database to be, we need to eliminate the redundant data and free of redundancy we want first. So 1NF, what it does, it eliminates the duplicate columns from the same table. Also, it creates separate tables for each group of related data and identify each row with a unique column, the primary key. What is fully functional dependency? Fully functional dependency. The functional dependency, XY, there is arrow, is fully functional dependent if removal of any attribute of AX means the dependency does not hold anymore, right? What is 2NF? This is again a normalization form, second normal form. A relational schema R is in 2NF. If it is in 1NF, that means we have all eliminated the redundancy, and every non-prime attribute A in R is fully functionally dependent on the primary key. Okay, so one column which is a non-primary key has to fully be dependent on the primary key. 3NF. A relation is in 3NF if it is in second normal form. So it holds 1NF and 2NF property, and there are no functional or transitive dependency between two non-primary key attribute. So a table can have a primary attribute and others like non-primary attributes. If you have a non-primary attributes showing transitive relationship, means you have three columns. This is related to this and this is related to this. That means this is related to this. This is not allowed in 3NF. Now BCNF, boycott normal form. A table is in BCNF if and only if it is in 3NF and every determinant is a candidate key. Every determinant is a candidate key. So you can have some candidate key means so it's kind of primary key only. So you have a number of candidate key, you choose one of them and that becomes a primary key. So whatever you determine, that has to be from a candidate key. What is 4NF? Now these 1NF to BCNF, this is on functional dependency, and this 4NF and 5NF, these are on multi-valued dependency. So fourth normal form requires that a table be BCNF and it contains no multi-value dependency. Multi-value dependency means you have multiple valued which are dependent. What is 5NF? Again, it has to be in 5NF. This is also known as project join normal form or PJNF. It has to be in 4NF and it cannot have lossless decomposition into any number of smaller tables. Lossless decomposition is not allowed. What is a query? A query with respect to database or database management system. It relates to the user command which you input that are used to interact with the database. What is meant by query optimization? The phase that identifies an efficient execution plan for evaluating a query that has the least estimated cost is referred to as a query optimization. Like you can have a query which bring number of tables together, and some join operation is there, and that query takes a long time. You're not regarding this query as a optimized query. So you can have a query which is optimized with the results, or the query is applied on on that basis that the retrieval time is very small, is not very considerable. What is an attribute? So it is a particular property which describes an entity. As I suggested, I'm a man, okay, and I have two hands. This is my attribute. What is RDBMS? RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. These are database management systems that maintain data records and indices in tables, a tabular form of database. These are RDBMS. You just ignore what is RDBMS. Just keep in your head tabular form, RDBMS. What is different between DBMS and RDBMS? Now, in this RDBMS, like we have now MongoDB, which is catching up, you don't have table in here. You don't have table in MongoDB, so they are actually working on files, so it's scalable. It is not RDBMS. RDBMS means tables. So what is the difference between now DBMS and RDBMS? DBMS provides a systematic and organized way of storing, managing, and retrieving from collection of logically related information, that is the database. RDBMS also provides what DBMS provides, but it provides with relationship integrity. You add this with the relationship integrity because now you have table, and these tables are interrelated. So along with database management system, if you are providing this relationship integrity, means in tabular form which are interrelated in some sort, then this is RDBMS. What is SQL? SQL is structured query language. This is an ANSI, or American National Standard Institute standard, a computer language for accessing and manipulating database systems. You'll find SQL everywhere. This is the heart and core of your database management systems. SQL statements are used to retrieve and update data in database. What is a stored procedure? A stored procedure is a named group of SQL statement. Already, the way you think in programming language, a function or a procedure. In the same way, these are the procedure in which you have rather than having C or C++ statements, you have SQL statements that have been previously created and stored in the server database. What is a view? A view may be a subset of database, or it may also contain virtual data that is derived from the database files, but is not explicitly stored. So this is a logical thing. You have a database. Now you take a part of that database and you say that it's a view. What is a trigger? Trigger means if somebody says, okay, tomorrow you have an exam, you get triggered up and you start preparing. So trigger is like that only. If you're not being told you have exam, you'll not study in that manner. So a trigger is a SQL procedure that initiates an action when an event like insert, delete, and update occurs. What is an index? An index is a physical structure containing pointers to the data. Like you have a book, and in the front page you will have an index so that you can easily go to that page. This is the work of your index. What is extension and intention? Extension. It is the number of tuples. Tuples means rows present in a table at any instance, and this is time independent. And intension means it is a constant value that gives the name, structure of the table, and the constraints which are laid on it. What do you mean by atomicity and aggregation? Now, atomicity, it states that database modification must follow an all or nothing rule. So if a transaction is starting from here and here, and from point A to point B, transaction is going. If it is completed, well and good. But in between, if it stops or some problems occur, it should not go to that level, or it should be backtracked. This is atomicity. Means the transaction should be atomic. Either it should happen or it should not happen. Aggregation. This is a feature of entity relationship model that allows a relationship set of participate in another relationship set. That is indicated on an ER diagram by drawing a dashed box. This box around the aggregation. These are the dashed box. So again, aggregation is the feature of ER model that allows a relationship set to participate in another relationship set. What is RDBMS kernel? Now we have talked about RDBMS. This is superficial thing. You have to have a thing inside to process it because it is actually a computer system. So the two important pieces of RDBMS architecture, they are a kernel, which is the software, and the data dictionary. Right? You have software and a data dictionary, which consists of system-level data structures used by the kernel to manage the database. Name the subsystems of RDBMS. You have input-output, security, language processing, process control, storage management, logging and recovery, distribution control, transaction control, memory management, log management. So this is why the reason why database management system is read as a different topic in computer science is because it has all those aspects which operating system does have. How do you communicate with RDBMS? You communicate with structured query language. What are the disadvantages of file processing system? In file processing system, data is redundant, inconsistent, you can't easily access the data isolation is there, data integrity you cannot assure, concurrent access is not at all possible, and security issues always there in file processing system. That is why we have RDBMS and database management systems. What is VDL? View definition language. It specifies user views and their mappings to the conceptual schema. What is SDL? Storage definition language. This language is to specify the internal schema, means the language may specify the mapping between two schema, right? Internal schema. Now, what is concurrency control? Concurrency control means, say, two people are asking the same question. Two students are asking the same question to the teacher, and teacher is not able to hear them, and they are talking in the similar manner and same question, same words. This is concurrency. How to control it? Concurrency control is the process of managing simultaneous operation against a database so that database integrity is not compromised. So there are two approaches to concurrency control. First is pessimistic approach, which involves locking, and the optimistic approach involves versioning. What the teacher can do, he says, okay, student 1, please, you can ask your question. Student 2, please hold. First is this, right? And when student 1 is speaking, student 2 can't. And the second is, okay, which one of you has a better question, you can ask. Describes the difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous distributed database. A homogeneous, as the name suggested, homogeneity, database is one that uses the same data DBMS at each node, while in heterogeneous database is one that have different database at each node. What is distributed database? Again, the name is distributed, so a distributed database is a single logical database that is spread across more than one node or locations. Okay, one may be in a separate location city or different location in a country. So they are all well connected by some communication link. Explain the difference between 2 and 3 tier architectures. Very important questions. 3 tier architectures include a client and 2 server layers. And the application code is stored in the application server, and the database is stored in the database server. So what is a 2 tier? A 2 tier architecture includes a client and 1 server layer. So the database is stored on the database server itself. Briefly describes the 3 types of SQL commands. Data definition language, which is to create, alter, and drop tables. Database manipulation commands. This is to insert, modify, and update. And query data in the database. Then you have DCL, that is database control language. This command helps the database administrator or a DBA to control the database. Lists some properties of a relation. Now, relation in database have unique name and no multi-viewed attribute should exist. Each row is unique and each attribute within a relationship has a unique name. So the sequence of both columns and rows is, they are irrelevant. You can change it as per your requirement. Explain the difference between an intranet and an extranet. Very important. Intranet and extranet. People generally learn about intranet and internet. But what about intranet and extranet? An internet database is accessible by everyone who has access to a website, right? An intranet database limits access to only people within a given organization. Now, if you have, what is this extranet now? Intranet, I have told you, internet also is covered here. What is extranet? Extranet means you are having a intranet on internet. Intranet on an internet, that is extranet. What is SQL deadlock? Now, deadlock is a unique situation in a multi-user system that causes two or more users or number of users to wait indefinitely for a logged resource. They are expecting some resource and that is locked. This is a deadlock condition because nothing can happen. Everything is standstill. What is a catalog? A catalog is a table that contains the information such as structure of each file, the type and the storage format of each data items, and various constraints on the data. So the information stored in the catalog is called the metadata. What is data warehousing and OLAP? Data warehousing and OLAP is online analytical processing. Now, these are the systems. These systems are actually techniques used in many companies today to extract and analyze useful information. Not only extracting and analyzing the data. You have to extract and analyze meaningful information for very huge database for decision making. So here the data is there, and the process of doing all this stuff is OLAP. Describes the three levels of data abstraction. You have physical level, logical level, and view level. Physical level is this is the lowest level of abstraction. It defines or describes how data are stored. Logical level is one above this physical level and describes what data are stored in database and what relationship among these data exist. While the view level, the highest level of abstraction, it describes only part of entire database. What is data independence? Now, data independence means that the application is independent of the storage